This is the Marketplace community, located on Tapo Street in the city of Simi Valley. The Marketplace is a small family community that consists of residential townhomes and senior apartments. There are 74 townhomes and 36 managed senior apartments at the Marketplace. The residents are hardworking citizens who chose to reside in Simi Valley, invested their life savings and earnings to make the Marketplace community their home. The residents include retired and serving police officers, single mothers, U.S. military veterans, retired seniors, and young professionals. The Marketplace is a master community with its original plan approved in 2005. The master community was planned and approved for 74 townhomes, a 36-unit senior apartment building, and a 12,000 square foot commercial and retail space. All residents who bought their homes in this community were provided this information, and in all cases, the approved plan with the retail space was a factor in the home buyer's decision to purchase a home at the Marketplace. In fact, most homeowners were shown drawn-up sketches of a single-story 12,000 square foot retail space as a part of the master plan. Of course, the reality has turned out to be quite different for the homeowners. These sketches have been and continue to be nothing more than a sales tactic, as the residents of the Marketplace are finding out now. This video will provide facts and testimony from the Planning Commission meeting for the Conditional Use Permit CUP S826. This shows how common citizens who work hard to provide for and maintain their homes are the least considered when it comes to certain Simi Valley city officials to make decisions that benefit developers and special business, who seemingly only have financial gains driving them, or so it appears. The residents of the Marketplace community, who are well over 200 in number, have been struggling for city officials to listen to their concerns, whereas the developer has free access to city officials, planning commissioners, and their neighborhood council coordinator.
I did meet with Mr. Kanicki on a different matter, and he did show me an artist rendering of this proposed project.
Yes. On Wednesday, August 26th, I had a meeting with Mr. Gary Gorian in my office to discuss the project.
I also met with the project applicant Gary Gorian on Wednesday, August 28th for approximately an hour to discuss the project.
However, the citizens who vote, pay taxes, and choose to live in Simi Valley are left with the impression that the city would rather not be troubled by the nuisance of their concerns. That being said, it shall also be known that to the relief of the residents of the Marketplace, certain members of the Planning Commission asked the relevant questions and made sincere attempts to gather true facts and identify the underlying issues. Unfortunately, as you will see in this video, Colton Lee community's representatives, having the stage to them unchallenged, appear to be quite comfortable with providing inaccurate and incomplete facts where it benefited them.
I asked the developer if he'd be willing to continue the discussion for 2 weeks so that we could get some additional response from the city attorney's office and have some more information regarding the parking issue particularly, which is a issue that I would like to have some certainty on.
What do you think will be different in 3 weeks than what we've heard tonight, which is mainly revolved around parking?
These are not just allegations. In the next few minutes, you will see that the citizens feel this way based on the testimony from the Planning Commission meeting and the city's records, all of which are public record. Although the master plan for the Marketplace community was approved in 2005, with the 12,000 square foot retail and commercial space, this lot was left unattended by the developer, Colton Lee Communities. The lot sat with overgrown brush and trash for years without visible or noticeable plans or progress to complete the last component of the original master plan, which was the retail and commercial space. It must be known that the objection and concerns of the residents of the Marketplace community stem from the lack of information, peddling of misinformation, and the seemingly attempted secrecy by the developer. Also, let us not forget that it was Colton Lee Communities who pitched and got approval on the original project and then failed to complete the project from 2005. You will see many examples in this video that will demonstrate that Colton Lee has been misinforming the Planning Commission and the residents, as they appear to be willing to say whatever it takes to push this nightmare for the residents through.
One thing, if we can find tenants that want to go in there that would be serviceable to the townhomes, and I'm thinking of something like a hometown friendly private coffee shop, not a Starbucks.
Will the flex spaces that are included, I saw that the doors open to Tapo Street, are those going to be available to the public, the flex spaces?
The intention is for it to be a use for the tenants. It's more of a community room.
Hometown-friendly private coffee shop,
It's more of a community room.
a private coffee shop.
More of a community room.
But here are the real facts. The residents of the marketplace are only asking that the real and accurate facts shall be considered and all the requirements for a project of this nature be vetted. The falsehood that Colton Lee has been spreading that the residents don't want rental units or don't want a development is anything but true. All the residents are looking for is that the City Planning Commission take all factors into consideration and limit the size of this development to match the existing requirements and to address future issues. That in fact is the best way to ensure that the project goes forward and is not stuck in hearing after hearing in different forums. Yet the developer wants to maximize the units to maximize the profits and move on. In the current proposal, they will be leaving a nightmare for the entire marketplace community behind. Colton Lee Communities used the same pitch of developing the so-called downtown for Simi Valley at Tapo Street, which they never delivered as 100% complete. Yet they returned to pitch a whole new song and dance to the city with the current homeowners of the marketplace left in the dark. As this video will show, based on information that is part of public record, that conditional use permit, CUP S826, seemed to be kept under the radar, and had this information not been sought out by the residents of the marketplace, this application could have flown under the radar and right through the process. Basically, it all comes down to money. For a land acquisition firm, being able to get exemption on a bunch of requirements and getting an approval to build a high-density residential complex on a lot that is originally planned and approved for commercial and retail increases the land value exponentially. Despite the claims that the applicant made in the public hearing about not offering this lot for sale,
I'll tell you right now, we terminated that realtor a while back.
the fact is that not only has the lot been listed for sale, the applicant's listing agent has been offering the lot with the claim that the seller will provide approvals to build 3-story apartment buildings. This offer was communicated in writing by the applicant's listing agent to third-party real estate agents as recent as August 20, 2019.
Now, we terminated that realtor a while back.
It's been listed for years and years. It's not the last 6-8 months it hasn't, but
Terminated that realtor a while back.
The first reason for residents of the marketplace to be concerned was the lack of information and openness about this project, followed by what seems to be a rush effort by certain city officials to push this project through the approval process without all the relevant issues disclosed and properly addressed. This all started with a neighborhood council meeting for which there was almost no notification to the residents of the marketplace community. As can be seen from this flyer, that the City of Simi Valley's stated objective for neighborhood councils are to give residents the opportunity to voice their concerns or ask questions about their neighborhood and city, advise the City Council and Planning Commission on development projects and resident concerns, give developers the opportunity to dialogue with residents and address concerns early in the planning process. There seemed to be no effort to meet any of these objectives. The residents found out about the neighborhood council meeting at a local gathering by word of mouth through other residents just a few days before the meeting. But there seemed to be no effort on the part of the neighborhood council meeting coordinator to provide any opportunity to the residents to voice their concerns or have a developer address the residents' concerns early in the planning process. However, to the surprise of the residents who attended the neighborhood council meeting on August 15th, the report that was submitted by the meeting coordinator, Emily Habib, presented the facts inaccurately in favor of the project. This report is part of public records now. Any resident who attended the meeting will tell you that this report completely misrepresented the proceedings of the neighborhood council meeting. It misrepresents the voting numbers and completely omits the facts that there were more than one motions voted on in this meeting. Not only did Ms. Habib openly pick what concerns voiced by residents to include or exclude in her meeting minutes, she counted the residents' votes for the wrong motion in favor of the project, whereas the residents were made to believe that they were voting on a motion for the developer to provide traffic studies. A request from the floor to Ms. Habib to clarify what motion was being voted on was abruptly dismissed by Ms. Habib. You see, Right after the meeting, the residents who attended the neighborhood council meeting signed and submitted a letter to the city director, Ron Fuchiwaki, the director of environmental services for the city of Simi Valley, voicing their concerns on the way the neighborhood council meeting was conducted and the way their votes were miscounted. This letter raised the residents' concerns in detail, including several objections on the conduct of Ms. Habib, who seemingly had her mind made up to push the project through from the very start of the meeting. Page 4 of this letter contains a petition signed by the residents who attended the neighborhood council meeting with their statements about the misrepresentation of their votes. The petition included the names and addresses of the residents so that it could be compared to the sign-in sheet of the neighborhood council meeting. Yet despite this letter and petition being formally submitted to the city of Simi Valley, the report submitted by neighborhood council coordinator Ms. Emily Habib was inaccurate and misrepresented the feedback of the residents in the meeting. As the petition can establish, and any resident who attended can confirm that the residents did not vote in favor of the project. The residents only voted on a separate motion to require the developer to do a traffic study, but their votes were not counted for that motion. In fact, that motion is not even mentioned in this report, just like the majority of the concerns raised by the residents that are not mentioned in this report. But of course, this meeting is not recorded, and the only person who gets to document the meeting minutes and write the report is Emily Habib. So the question is asked, does it make sense to waste taxpayers' money and time if the voices and concerns of the residents are just ignored by the meeting coordinator? By the way, even the votes of the neighborhood council board appear to be misrepresented, since multiple residents confirmed that at least one board member chose abstention, which is not how it is shown in the report. One shall note that whereas the report submitted by the neighborhood council coordinators such as Ms. Emily Habib can impact the review of the City Planning Commission, there does not seem to be any checks and balances on how they conduct the meetings or accurately report the findings. It all starts and stops with the coordinator, in this case Ms. Habib. Unlike the City Planning Commission, where all proceedings are documented and preserved and where planning commissioners are required to disclose any prior dealings or communications with the developer, Ms. Habib has no obligation to disclose any such information. As evident from the petition that was submitted to the City of Simi Valley on August 20, and based on the account provided by the homeowners who attended the meeting, the actual polling results shall look more like this. It is still not why city officials allowed the processing of CUP S826 to fly under the radar. This question is raised simply because of the fact that there was no sign posted on the property about the originally scheduled Planning Commission meeting on August 21, 2019, which is in contradiction with the requirements set by the City of Simi Valley. It was the residents of the marketplace who brought this issue to surface, and only based on that did the city continue to hold the meeting on September 4th. It is not clear why certain city officials chose to turn a blind eye to basic requirements of notification and simple transparency, which are part of the process. But needless to say, it has raised the concerns of the residents who stand to be deeply impacted by this. What has been even more alarming for the residents is the inaccuracy of certain facts and data that the city officials provided to the Planning Commission in the September 4th meeting.
Ms. Rosser, can you tell me the height of the townhomes that are just west of the project?
The height of the
The townhomes that are just west
I think they're like 2 feet different than the height of the proposed project.
Okay.
They're like 2 feet different. They're like 2 feet different.
Okay.
As can be seen from this video archive that is public record, the city planner, Donna Rosser, stated that the new building will only be 2 feet higher than the marketplace townhomes. That is incorrect. Even the sketch that the developer and the city planner showed as a part of their presentation, and which is now part of public record, shows that the new building will be a towering 15 or so feet higher than the marketplace townhomes that are adjacent to this proposed project. Here is a more realistic view of what this will look like. Let us now review some facts about the parking situation that is one of the key concerns for the proposed development, CUP S826. It is incomprehensible how the city planner chose to ignore such an important and obvious requirement.
Chose to park there, whatever.
It was based on 0.5 guest parking spaces per unit at the time.
Okay.
Whereas the developer chose to unjustly include street parking and deeded garage parking as available parking for the project to seek approval for a maximum number of residential units to demand a higher selling price for the lot, the city planner appears to be knowingly ignoring the requirements. So, the city originally required to mandate an additional half a parking space for guests for each townhome of the marketplace. How can it be okay to allow 62 more residential units with an addition of just 3 parking spaces? You see, the original plan included 12,000 square feet of commercial space with 19 parking spaces. Now, the developer is trying to change the commercial space to over 54,000 square feet of residential units with 22 parking spaces, just 3 more than the original plan. Yet, the square footage in use increased from 12,000 square feet of commercial space with visitors to over 54,000 square feet of residents who will need parking all the time. So here are the facts about the parking. The original development has 74 townhomes, all of which include a closed 2-car garage, which is deeded to the homeowners. These garages are not shared parking. The senior apartment community has 36 dedicated covered parking spots of its own and 2 handicap parking spots, all of which are also not shared parking. And then there are 36 guest parking spots that are located inside the community next to the townhomes. These guest parking spaces are part of the master community, and the residents of the townhomes pay to maintain these parking spaces as well as the roadways and the street lighting associated with these parking spaces. Now here is how Colton Lee Communities pitched their project. In order to obtain approval on a maximum number of units, Colton Lee misrepresented that a total of 291 parking spaces are available for the master community. And this number of 291, they included the 140 enclosed, deeded garage spaces of the townhomes, as well as public parking on Eileen and Winfred Street. Colton Lee actually included approximately 50 spaces on public streets, Eileen and Winfred, in their parking count for the 62 residential unit project. Colton Lee's far-fetched claims didn't just stop there. They went on stating in the public hearing that residents of the marketplace could not have more than 2 cars.
One thing is parking. And in fact, several people have said, hey, I've got 4 cars and I don't have room to park my 4 cars. And we understand that. You can have 4 cars, you can have 10 cars, you can have 20 cars, but you can't have them here. There's a reason.
So not only is Colton Lee claiming that the guest parking space is dedicated parking for their residential project, they seem to think that residents of the Marketplace townhomes shall not be allowed to use street parking on Winfred and Eileen Street, so that they can get an approval on their application under false pretenses.
Understand that. You can have 4 cars, you can have 10 cars, you can have 20 cars, but you can't have them here.
It is also important to take into account the cost of the guest parking that residents of the Marketplace townhomes pay and how Colton Lee appears to be making an attempt to annex that parking while the residents are left to pay for the cost. As mentioned, the Marketplace master community controls the guest parking, the roadways, and the street lighting that serves those areas. Each homeowner of the Marketplace community pays over $1,800 a year towards the guest parking and roadways. Over the past 5 years, the homeowners have contributed over $9,000 for the guest parking, roadways, and street lighting. Please note that this cost is not for the homeowners' amenities such as landscaping and pool. The homeowners pay for that separately. This cost is just for the guest parking, roadways, and street lighting that Colton Lee Communities is trying to claim without paying a single dime for it. The approved plan for the Marketplace Master Association consists of 74 townhomes, a 36-unit senior apartment building, and a 12,000 square foot retail facility. The CC&Rs, which are binding to all components of the master community, clearly lay out the responsibilities, liabilities, and use for the master community. These CC&Rs are binding even to the commercial lot, for which Colton Lee Communities is seeking a change now. According to the CC&R, the 74 townhomes shall pay a total of $11,396 a month for the Master Association, which is guest parking, roadways, and street lighting. The seniors, which do not have use of the guest parking per the CC&R, are still required to pay a monthly amount equaling to 12 times the amount each homeowner pays. The commercial development, which shall be 12,000 square feet with no residential units, are required to pay 8 times the amount each homeowner pays, which amounts to $1,232 a month, a fraction of the amount that the homeowners pay. Now that Colton Lee is seeking approval for over 54,000 square feet instead of 12,000 square feet for 62 residential units requiring full-time parking instead of the partial overflow of traffic, they appear to be trying to push the change through without addressing the cost for use and maintenance of the guest parking spaces and roadways to unfairly benefit by having the city approve their application, potentially to divert the legal implication later to the city of Simi Valley. It's quite simple. If the developer is bound by the CCNR to pay just over $1,200 a month for shared parking based on 12,000 square feet of commercial and retail space, how can it be justified for the developer to change to over 54,000 square feet of residential units, claim all the parking, and still pay the same $1,200 a month while the homeowners pay 10 times as much? So, if it was up to Colton Lee, they seemingly would have the homeowners pay 10 times more but not use the parking, not even the street parking.
You can have 4 cars, you can have 10 cars, you can have 20 cars, but you can't have them here.
Let's explain this further by using a simple example. Consider a case of a small community with 25 homes and community tennis courts. Suppose these 25 homes all pay $100 a month for use of the tennis courts. The understanding here would be that all members of this community pay an equal amount for partial use of the tennis courts as a shared amenity within the prescribed tennis court hours, let's say from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. Now suppose the owner of one home decides to use their house as a tennis academy and somehow gets approval from the city. This could increase the use of the tennis courts many folds. Let's say the tennis academy now enrolled 62 students who now use the tennis courts even after hours by using the lighting provided. Ask yourself this question. In such a scenario, would anyone argue that it is okay for one homeowner who converted to the tennis academy to keep paying only $100 a month? No matter how unjust the argument, that homeowner can claim that his agreement was only $100. Well, anyone in their right mind would say absolutely not. Now that the use is higher, they should pay more. Well, what if the tennis academy was paying only $20 while using the courts most of the time, while every other homeowner who pays $100 can never use the courts because the tennis academy has 62 users always occupying the courts? I guess it would be unimaginable to justify such a scenario, or so you would think. The homeowners of the marketplace are living this nightmare right now. The developer was supposed to pay $1,236 per month to share parking for 12,000 square feet of commercial and retail space, which would only be open part of the day. Now that Colton Lee wants over 54,000 square feet of residential space with the same number of guest parking spaces that they claim that homeowners shall never use, why should the homeowners be paying 10 times more and get no benefit?
And we understand that. You can have 4 cars, you can have 10 cars, you can have 20 cars, but you can't have them here.
Of course, it seems that Colton Lee would try to gain every financial benefit, no matter how unfair to the homeowner. But the homeowner requests that the city of Simi Valley not be an accessory to this injustice, as it will certainly be challenged in other forums by the homeowners. Let's clear the dust on a few other misconceptions that have been circulating to benefit the developer, yet they have no merit. For what now appears to be a pattern, Colton Lee tried to use parts of the marketplace CCNR in their presentation to mislead the audience, claiming that the CCNR clearly state that the residents shall only park in the garage. This was nothing more than a spin to mislead and conceal. Now, let's see the entire section of the CCNR to understand what the CCNR actually states. So, whereas Colton Lee went around taking unauthorized pictures of the residents' garages and claimed that the CCNR requires the residents to use their garages, they conveniently omitted the following parts of the CCNR. The CCNR do not state anywhere that owners cannot have more than 2 vehicles. The CCNR clearly states that if an owner has fewer than 2 vehicles, they may use the garage for storage. And lastly, and most importantly, what the CCNR are referring to, and is explained further, is the subsequent section, which of course the developer left out from his presentation, and it reads, Owners may not use any space within the garage for temporary or permanent living purposes, regardless of the number of vehicles. As you can see, the CC&R focuses on restricting use of the garage space for living purposes or keeping animals. So, let's put things in context. If you were a homeowner within the marketplace and you had adult children who were staying with you, according to Colton Lee, they cannot park in the guest parking or even the streets around the marketplace. Yet, for Colton Lee and their project, you can have 62 residential units for which there is no limit or restriction on how many vehicles each unit can have. And let us not forget, as a homeowner, you will still pay most of the cost to have that parking. There has also been mention of the Affordable Housing Act and that it entitles to build a project of this nature. Let's be clear about the fact that the residents of the marketplace are not concerned about affordable housing or rental units. It is simply a falsehood that is being spread to take the focus away from the actual issues. Let's ask ourselves why the developer stopped at 62 units and 3 stories. Why couldn't this be 4 stories and 80 units? The answer is simple. The limit is being imposed by the city in the form of guidelines it has for development. So why can't the city consider the impact of this on the surrounding homes and the legal implications of unjustified beneficial use of parking by the developer and require the developer to propose a project that has a reasonable number of units and addresses the parking? Why can't the city require the developer to provide additional parking and reduce the number of units? The units can still be affordable housing or rental units. The Affordable Housing Act does not entitle the developer to annex parking that belongs to a community or to build excessive units to maximize profit. If that was the case, the developer would have been putting in a lot more units. And by the way, anyone looking at the developer's sketches shall be able to observe that this project is anything but about affordable housing or renters. It's all about profits. Common sense will tell you that residential units as big as 800 square feet do not match the true intent behind single-room occupancies or affordable housing. It is just noise and shallow claims to mislead the city and the citizens. The homeowners can only hope that the city of Simi Valley is not made into a shield for the financial gains of the developer, because the city and citizens shall not end up in a legal battle for the benefit of special business. All that is needed and what makes sense is for the city to require the developer to address all the issues and present a project with no loose or hidden ends.